Okay, so in this slide is just listing my strengths, weaknesses, and how I can make them, my weaknesses, better for me. So we start off with my strengths. I feel that I worked within a professional manner at all times, because obviously I was representing that company, so I've got to be professional as they are a professional outfit, and I've got to reflect well on them, because otherwise I could potentially be losing them clients in forms of schools and parents for their kids. So obviously I needed to act that way. What else? My ability to adapt under pressure, I feel was one of my strengths. The reason for this is because at one point I was kind of thrown in the deep end and when I'm leading the session, so I kind of had to think on my feet and kind of come up with an idea of how I'm going to make a good fun session for the kids. And I think as well my communication skills were good, because again I had to get the message across to these kids what I wanted them to do and how I wanted them to do it. And without that, they wouldn't have done what we needed them to do, and they would have just messed around and not had a really productive session. Now moving on to my weaknesses, I feel like I didn't ask enough questions of the lead coaches. So what I mean by this is during the time there, I didn't ask why we were doing it a certain way, I just kind of went with it. And I feel if I ask these questions as why we're doing it, what's the benefit, not only would it benefit me because I know why and how I can use it later on, but it could also benefit them in terms of them actually thinking why do we do it that way, and instead gets a different idea on things. So a way for me to improve on that would just be obviously asking more questions, but I wouldn't do it in the session. I'd wait until the end, because then obviously midway through a session can be quite disruptive and nothing would get done. Another weakness for me was my confidence, I feel. So I had to obviously lead a session once, so I don't think my confidence was there in terms of I didn't really know I felt like I didn't know what I was talking about. And for that, for a coach to be not knowing what he's doing, it's a bit of a problem, because obviously the kids are looking up to you to be that head coach and that role model. So if I'm not doing it right, then they won't do it right. So a way for me to do this would just make me, or a way for me to improve would just be, put me in some more difficult situations that I'm not quite used to, and make me kind of have to work my way out of them in terms of making sure I know how I'm going to do it. And another way as well for confidence is going in with a plan. If I go in with a plan, then I kind of know what I've got to say and what I'm going to do, and that way I can't really deviate or question myself as to why, because I've already set it in place that's what I am going to do. And that was one of my other weaknesses as well, was planning. We didn't really turn up with a plan. We were just kind of told the sport and kind of half winged it from there. So if I went in with a plan as to what I was doing, again, I would have been more confident and hit them two weaknesses in one go. If I work on them weaknesses, I feel like I could become a good coach and maybe help out another company on a work experience placement or as a potential new job.